NBA All-Star Weekend, another big change coming. Golden State will be hosting the All-Star game this year, and Steph Curry is reportedly going to consult with the NBA to try to fix this travesty of an event that has become an eyesore for the NBA year after year after year. I'm Trevor Lane. This is the Basketball Bulletin. Make sure you subscribe right here to our channel. Joining me is Donnie Freeman. Donnie, let's start with this. Do you like the NBA All-Star game?
I mean, conceptually, I like it, but as a product, no, not at all. Yeah, in theory, seeing all the best players play should be like the best game ever, and it's not for a lot of different reasons. So unfortunately, no, and it needs a lot of changes, and we're going to talk about that today.
Yeah, I like the idea of the All-Star game. So here's what Adam Silver talked about. Adam Silver said he has discussed potential changes with Stephen Curry, including tweaks to the game's format. It's undergone several changes in recent seasons. They had team captains, drafting teams try to incite some drama there. They utilized the Elam ending, which was exciting for like a season, which involved a target score as opposed to a game clock. It was good for like a season, but that was about it. But then they're consulting Curry because this game is going to be a home game for Steph, and he wants to make this better. I'll be honest. I plan a vacation every year during the All-Star game because it has not been worth watching. And I think there's ultimately a reason why. I like the dunk contest, the 3-point shooter. Those are fun. Saturday night, All-Star Saturday night. Let's go. Those are a good time. The problem the NBA has with the All-Star game, it all rolls up to this: the players don't care. That's the issue. That is the heart of the problem with the All-Star game. You fix that and you fix the game, because you're right, Donnie. Look, you're going to get the best players from the NBA all on one court, and they're going to play together. How amazing is that? Look at how fun the Olympics were this past year when you had the best players all on one team together. That was a lot of fun. The problem is with the All-Star game, the players simply do not care. And so that's what you see out there on the floor. They care about being selected. They care, make no mistake, they care about being All-Stars. They do not care about the game itself. So, Donnie, what can Steph do to fix that?
Honestly, I'm not really sure what Steph and Silver can do that hasn't already been done or tried. It ultimately comes down to trying to find a way to make these guys care, because you're right, they don't care about the game itself. They care about making it because sometimes there are incentives in their contracts, or they like having the accolade, whatever the reason is, but they don't really care about this. And they have tried a lot of different things where it's like, we'll give you money, we'll give charities money, we'll do all these different things. They've tried gimmicks like the Elam ending, which I'll stand by. That was probably the best All-Star game I remember for a while.
Agreed.
2021. I believe that was when it was. That was a really fun game. And then also the following year, where I think LeBron and AD both iced both of those games, if I remember correctly. Anyway, or maybe I'm getting them mixed up, but either way, the Elam ending had a couple of interesting seasons. They kind of moved away from it. So I don't really know what they can do in particular, aside from just say, hey, give these guys more money, right? Like, it's weird. And it's interesting because you would expect, or you would want, for these guys to take more pride in what they're doing out there. I mean, the NBA has tried to have other people talk to these guys, go in the locker room last year. I don't remember who that was. I think it was Larry Bird and some others that were talking to them, and they kind of just went in one ear and out the other. It's a very big talking point about how this has just basically gone to crap and nobody cares about it anymore. And all the fans are like, dude, we used to have awesome All-Star games. This was a cultural event for us, and now it's just gone, and now nothing is happening here. So like I said, I guess it's maybe give more money, or maybe find a way to make it more interesting. I'm not really sure in particular. They may have to just flat out think outside of the box for this one.
Well, we talk about this all the time in the front office show, that in general, if you put something in front of players that you can win, you put a competitive situation in front of them, they tend to want to compete, because that's what these guys do. But I think the problem is, you've got, like, if you're selected to the All-Star team, great, you want the selection. But meanwhile, all of your peers, all the other guys that are on your team, they're all spending the week on a tropical island somewhere with their families, right? Like that's what they're all doing. It's if I was an NBA All-Star, like, it would be great to go play once or twice or something, but you get these guys that have done it year after year after year after year, and they're like, man, I miss half the year with my kids because they're growing up. I'm away on road games and all that kind of stuff. Wouldn't it be great if I could be named an all-star and then get to go on vacation like these other guys on my team get to do? There's that aspect of it. I also just think the guys get out there, and we're at a point in the season where you're starting to look ahead to the playoffs, and every player's team is telling them just do not get hurt.
Don't get hurt.
Because if any of these guys, any one of the all-star level player, any one of them turns an ankle, that could end their team season. Like that's, especially if you're in the Western Conference with how tight the playoff race is going to be there. So all these guys have to be extra careful too when they're out there on the floor. And so that's where you get these all offense, no defense games, everybody just shooting wide open shots, running down the floor, doing these dunks and stuff like that. And it's just not that exciting when there's not competition added to it. And I think, you mentioned the money aspect, and that worked for the NBA Cup. The NBA Cup last year, it was known as the in-season tournament then. The teams took it seriously. Almost every team did anyway. They took it seriously. They played hard. We got playoff, not quality, but playoff intensity basketball in November. And that's why, in my opinion, the in-season tournament was a success. But Donnie, would that turn fans off, do you think? Those fans who do remember the Larry Bird, Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, those all-star games that were competitive just because they were competitors out there and they wanted to play against each other. Does that turn off fans if they know the NBA boosted the cash payout for an all-star game? Could that have a backlash?
No, I don't really think people really generally care much about that. I mean, I don't think these guys should need more incentive, like I said, to be prideful. I do understand the injury aspect of it, but I mean, you talked about a bunch of the greats of generations past, and guys like Kobe, they would just put pride in it and they just go out there and compete, man. It is what it is, right? You're up against some of your best peers and you want to show what you can do. I don't really think that they should have to incentivize these guys, but I mean, here we are, right? The reason the in-season tournament, in my opinion, also worked is, LeBron used to say when they were going into it that, they've got money, but he wants to win the money for the guys on the back of the team that don't have that money. And that is a huge opportunity for them. So like in this case, these guys don't need extra whatever $1 million. That's why I said I thought that the charity part of it was a big deal, because that matters a lot to these guys, or it should matter a lot to these guys, being able to help people in need. So I think that's more or less what they would try to do. But I don't really know if it's just money and if people would get upset about it. I don't really think so, but I don't think that would work, is my point. I think that they've got to find something within the game that's imposed as like a rule or some sort of catch to the game that would make this more interesting for these guys and make it to where it's a good game, even though they've got to gimmick it up more. I think that's where we're at with this.
I try to think like it wasn't in Major League Baseball for a little while. They did the winning team of the All-Star game. That division they would get home field advantage during the World Series. Is that too much? Is that too much of it? Like if it's West versus East, the West wins, then they get home court advantage in the NBA Finals. Is that too much? Is that going too far? Or do you think that's enough of an incentive?
I mean, that would definitely get these guys playing. That would get them play. That almost feels like it's more of an in-season tournament or like, award for like a specific team. I feel like it may be a bit overpowered to say an entire conference gets that, but it would definitely get these guys to compete. But I think they need something like that. Or I was thinking more along the lines of a rule, like something like, oh, if you miss 3 shots in a row, you get subbed out for the rest of the game. Not something drastic like that, but like some sort of gimmick that maybe these guys would be interested in. So that's more or less what I was thinking about. But if they wanted to give a big incentive that's not monetary, that's like has ramifications on the actual season being played, then that could be huge. They could even do something on that topic where it's like the All-Star Game MVP's team gets a draft pick or something like that. That would be pretty hard to do, but there's a bunch of ways they can really try to figure something out.
Well, and it would have to be something that the players care about. Because here's the as much as fans care about picks, players don't like them. Because for a player, you get an extra draft pick. That's one more guy who's on the team right now who doesn't have a job next year because that draft pick's going to be coming in. So it's got to be something that the players want, that matters to the players. Obviously, beyond just pride. You're right. For some of these guys, the financial incentive. Maybe it's not there because these guys make so much money as it is. How much are they going to be, competing for? But again, we saw during the NBA in-season tournament, they did compete for the prize money there. They need to figure out some way to make this a competitive, real game. Does it need to be, do you need to go USA versus the world? Is West versus East not as fun anymore? And here's the other thing. There needs to be a point. There needs to be a drop dead point where the NBA just looks at it and says, you know what? This is not worth saving. This is not worth saving. It's like when I'm trying to cook. When I'm trying to cook dinner, I know there's a decent chance that I'm going to mess something up. And I have to hit that point where I go, you know what? This is not salvageable. I'm calling up Pizza Hut or something like that. I need to turn to something else. I wonder, does the NBA hit a point where they just look at the All-Star game and they say, this is not salvageable, and let's just take the final of the NBA Cup and put it on All-Star weekend because we know that's going to be competitive. Still pick All-Stars, but if we want to give fans a competitive game, let's make it the final of the NBA Cup, put that All-Star weekend, forget having an All-Star game, still do the three-point contest, still do the dunk contest, all that stuff, designate players as All-Stars, but let's put a competitive product on the floor.
Yeah, I mean, they could do that. I feel like if they do that, though, they lose some of their own revenue generated,
Sure.
because they turned it into a big event with all these guys in town and all that stuff. Those tickets go for quite a bit, too. So I think that maybe that changes things a bit. But I guess there's just a lot of things to consider when you're thinking about ways to change this, which is why, we circle back to the beginning of the video and we talked about how Adam Silver is trying to make changes and he's talking to hometown star Steph for this one. And I guess it'll be pretty interesting to see what they decide on doing.
Yeah. We're going to, of course, keep a real close eye on it. Players we know would like to be selected to the All-Star game, but I'm curious what everybody else thinks. Everybody watching right now, let me know. What would you do? How do you solve this? What is Steph Curry going to come up with to try and save this thing? Clearly, something needs to be done, and the NBA has been trying for years and haven't been able to come up with something that will stick to save the All-Star game. So let us know in the comment section, and don't forget to go watch our most recent video on Giannis Antetokounmpo potentially making his way to the New York Knicks. Oh boy, go check that out.